Florida homeowners, it's not a question of if, but when the next hurricane will come. No matter what Florida weather has in store, StormSmart has products that protect every opening of your home while improving the look, feel, and function. From durable aluminum shutters, high-impact windows and doors, to our innovative storm catcher screens, products that enhance the beauty of your home and keep your family safe. Because smart is complete hurricane protection, and smart is peace of mind. Call StormSmart today for your free in-home consultation.
When your power goes out, remember just how inconvenient your life can be. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, no electronics. But with a Generac home standby generator, you'll have power when you need it. Our Generac generators automatically provide backup power after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Get a free 10-year warranty with the purchase of any air-cooled generator. Call Generac Generators today. Generac Generators. Life is primitive without power.
Streaming from the Tampa Bay 28 Weather Center in Studio A, this is Dennis Phillips Live. Brought to you by StormSmart. Protect every opening of your home. And Generac Generators. Life is primitive without power.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Thursday night edition of Dennis Phillips Live. And before we start our shenanigans and our tomfoolery, I would like to thank Jason Adams. Now, we have lots of Jason. I have lots of Jason Adams in my life. We have Jason Adams, the weekend meteorologist here. We have Jason Adams, the general manager of the Clearwater Threshers, who's a great guy and went out there throughout the first pitch, had World Number 7 night, whatnot. But we also have a Jason Adams who is an engineer here. Jason's been at this station for like 20 years, I think. Been a director. Well, anyway, we took a power hit about 30 minutes ago, all right? And this has always been my biggest nightmare because this entire show is run by computers that have little gerbils in there that they're spinning around, and if those gerbils stop, well, then we go down, and the gerbils stopped. So we, in reality, had a power hit and lost our computers. Well, Jason was like the $6 million man for those folks who remember that. Remember when it goes run out there and just like the Flash, just going back and forth, working on the computers to get them all up and running. So major props to Jason Adams for keeping us on track and actually keeping us on television and on DPL. So thank you very much, Jason. Anna Maria, how you doing? Ryan, if you're watching on the spot, Spectrum 17, by the way, for whatever reason, it says on Spectrum's guide that Magnum PI is on tomorrow night at 7:30. That is incorrect. I'm banning Spectrum's guide because we are on tomorrow night at 7:30. The guide is incorrect. We're also on Frontier. And so tomorrow night, no WNBA, we will be on. There is a lightning special on the spot up until 7:30, and that is a sign of things to come, my friends, because as you may have heard a time or 1,000, we are now the official broadcast home of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Many of their preseason games, most of their regular season games, and first-round playoff games, assuming they make the playoffs, and usually the Lightning do. Don't want to, knock on wood. But regardless, so we are going to have a lot of telecasts with the Lightning coming up in the near future, only just over 3 weeks away from the regular season starting. So it is exciting times. Got my USF hoodie on, taking on the Canes this weekend in Miami. Maybe a little bit of rain going on down there. I'm a little concerned about that. But for us, we're looking good. Toronto's in the house with Dennis. 2 N's in Dennis. We have Michigan also in the house. It's so cool. If you're watching on TV, again, watching on TV is awesome. I encourage that profusely because, like, when you get ratings out, if there's little hash marks in the ratings, that's a sad thing. Like, not many people are watching. Fortunately, we're not getting hash marks. But my point is, continue watching on TV, but follow along in the comments because the comments are awesome. I mean, you like drama, the memes where you've got the Michael Jackson meme where he's eating popcorn in the movie theater because there's all that drama, there's the bickering, there's the banning. That all goes on right here on my Facebook stream. And we're also on Instagram right now as well. But yeah, we have lots and lots of folks in here. Harold, how you doing? Good to see you. Bridget, as always. Eric, nice to see you. And yes, Anna Maria, that was Steve Austin. At one point in time, and I'm going to get to weather in a second, and then we are going to have my buddy Mike Boylan from Mike's Weather Page. He's going to be on coming up in the next break. My stupid human trick. You may remember David Letterman used to do a thing, stupid human tricks. I know I'm dating myself in so many ways, but that's what happens when you're old. Anyway, the $6 Million Man was my favorite show back in the 70s. And my stupid human trick is I can actually recite the entire opening of that show. I may literally be the only person on planet Earth right now that can do that. And I'm not just talking about Steve Austin, an astronaut, a man barely alive. No. I'm talking about the beginning of the entire 60-second montage for the opening of the show. I won't do that on TV, but maybe on Facebook one time. It's going to jump into the weather. We are going to get some weather before we bring out Mike, because we do have some interesting things going on. A little bit of sciencey weather we're going to be talking. Andrea in St. Pete, how you doing? Judith in Sarasota, good to see you. Barry, nice to see you in St. Pete as well. Again, I'm seeing all the comments. East Lake's in the house with Allison. So, they're still talking about best hurricane snacks. Dominic's, we were talking about this yesterday. Mexican marzipan, sugar-free dark chocolate, Australian black licorice. For all three of those. Okay, I'm not a fan. Brendan Sebring, how you doing? All right, anyway, let's look at the weather. So there's a look at radar. We still got that pesky frontal boundary that's just kind of hanging around. Frida in Shore Acres, how are you? So that frontal boundary's been hanging around for a couple of days, right? It's actually longer than that. And it's just kind of going up and down, back and forth. And in doing so, we've seen some scattered showers. Now, I'm a little concerned South Florida may continue to see some rain even into Saturday when the Bulls are taking on the Canes, right? Now, for us, the drier air will have gone through. But I am a little concerned that there could be some rain down there for those folks as well. Wait a minute. Someone just said something about radar. They want to see radar, and then James responded with chips and salsa. I love that you guys know this, and I'm going to explain what that means, all right? I get to what I get to when I get to it, and I will get to it. But that's like you going into your friend's house, or not even your friend's house, an associate. We're kind of a friends, we're associates too. You go into their house and you say, and you see you see chips and salsa there, right? But you're in the mood for guac. So do you just look at this person and say, hey, where's the guac? In all caps. Do you scream at that person, hey, where's the guac? That person might pull the ban button on you. You just don't do it, right? Where are our manners? What has happened to our manners these days? So you wait for the guac. You wait for your friend or acquaintance to say, hey, would you like some guac? And you say, oh, yes, please. Anyway, so thank you, James, for noticing that. Okay, let's go back. There is a look at all caps radar, and you see the rain and some storms going on down south. Today was a day like it's supposed. James is allergic to guac, in all caps, no less. James, I love you. All right, so 86 right now in Tampa, 85 Clearwater. Today we were exactly like we're supposed to be. We hit 91, we dropped down to 76. Those are the normals for Tampa. Plant City hit 93. Kind of a cool sky out there. 86 and mostly cloudy. North winds at 10 miles an hour. And today, there it is. This is the way the weather is supposed to be on the 11th of September. A high of 91, the low of 76. Now, actually, I can say that maybe this isn't the way it's supposed to be because the tropics are extraordinarily quiet. Jonathan says, heading on to Cozumel and Belize on a cruise starting on Sunday. A little unsettled, but I think you're okay. I actually think you're okay. I would never scream that allergic to avocados. I love you guys. All right, later on tonight, still a few isolated showers. Stokes, how you doing?
Oh, what's going on, Vinny?
Good. Stokes just walked by. All All right, so there's a look at tomorrow morning. Check in with Greg in the morning. I'll be posting as well. There might be a few showers with an onshore flow. But here's where the forecast gets a little interesting, all right? Drier air starts to come in tomorrow evening. There's still going to be scattered showers and storms in the afternoon and evening. But as the front comes south, high pressure builds in and we get a northeast wind, okay? Why is that significant? Well, I will tell you. Because in the state of Florida, when you get a northeast wind, it can usher in some drier air. But at the same time, east to northeast flow can also bring moisture in from the Atlantic and showers pop on the east coast. So even though drier air comes in Saturday morning and Sunday morning and Monday morning, right? Lower dew points, you'll notice the cooler air in the mornings, upper 60s, areas up north, lower 70s elsewhere. But then I fully expect to see some showers coming in on the east side of the state, and so do the models. You see that right there? That is Saturday evening. So I think Eastern Polk and Highlands still have a chance for some showers coming in on Saturday night, later Saturday afternoon, and again on Sunday afternoon. Most of the time, those showers do not make it all the way across the state, but it's a really tricky forecast. Lower dew points, yes. Cooler mornings, yes. Upper 80s, sunny skies for most of us in the afternoon, yes. Highs near 90. But then that little sneaky chance that we could see a few showers. And look at that map on Sunday and Monday. Look at where the rain sets up on Saturday, East Coast. So most of us looking good, but if you live in Eastern Polk or Highlands, I still think there will be some scattered showers later Saturday into Sunday. Highs upper 80s to around 90 degrees. There's the area in yellow that the NHC is watching. You guys know what we're going to say about that. More than likely, history and climatology tells us that that will eventually occur for a number of reasons. It'll just go zoop right up into the North Atlantic. That's the way it should play out. That is not the official forecast. You know I'm not going to make an official forecast 2 weeks out. But historically speaking, that is what usually happens for a number of reasons and why I think it's going to happen again. There's your forecast tonight, partly cloudy. It'll be pleasant in the morning, just like it was this morning. Maybe a few showers, but still comfortable temperatures. For the boaters, north to northeast winds, 10 to 15 knot, seas a couple of feet. The beach tomorrow, more clouds than sun, with highs in the middle 80s. And there is the 7-day. Boy, we are already over. People should be screaming, break, break, we need a break. Well, you're right, we do, because I'm very late on the commercial breaks. Upper 80s to around 90 degrees. Again, eastern counties, Saturday and Sunday, maybe a couple showers. For the rest of us, highs around 90, lower humidity in the morning. The mornings will be beautiful. We're talking tropics. We're talking messaging. We're talking with Mike Boylan at Mike's Weather Page, and that'll be back in 90 seconds. Holy cow, everything is just happening so quickly. Let us see if Mike's there. Oh, yes, he is there. Hey. Okay, let's go ahead and take this two-shot right here. Flipping over, put in my IFB so I can hear Mike. And there Mike is. Now, we are not on TV right now, Mike. We are still streaming, though, so okay. All the Facebook folks see you.
Good thing I didn't say nothing. I didn't know that.
Now, wait a minute. Where are the dogs?
Yeah, the dog. We'll do them. They're kind of hyper. I don't know, but we'll do that at the end, maybe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. All right. So how much time we got? We got 52 seconds. And so everybody, what we're going to be talking about, and you kind of know this. We've been discussing this for, gosh, Mike and I have been talking about it for a couple of weeks. But, you know, messaging with the last storm or potential storm was a really interesting occurrence. And we're going to talk about, and what we want, Mike and I both want your suggestions on what you think effective messaging is for tropical or potential tropical systems. I think there's a lot of bickering going on about that. And it's something I think I want to talk about. Oh, who do we have there?
There's Longo.
We have Longo. All right, we are back in 5 seconds.
All you're going to get.
All right, that's all we're going to get for in 3, 2. Welcome back, everybody. Dennis Phillips live. And as you see here, we have what's known as a double box. I am on the left, and my buddy Mike Boylan from Mike's Weather Page is on the right. Mike, last time you were here, we had a tornado.
Yeah. then you blew your computer up.
we had to leave, and then you kind of went chasing, didn't you?
Yeah, in my wife's Tesla. She wasn't too happy about that. We had hail hitting the top of the glass. She didn't like that. I thought it was pretty cool, but.
So you've got this decked out storm chaser, but you took your wife's Tesla to go looking for a tornado.
Yeah, I think we were going to dinner, and I took a left instead of a right.
I've been there. I get it. So everybody, if you have questions for Mike, if you're watching on TV, again, jump into Facebook, comment, and I'm going to kind of check the comments here. Lots of haze. How you doing? So before we get into what I want to talk about, which is messaging, and I think after what could have been Gabrielle but never was Gabrielle, there was a lot of bickering, there was a lot of confusion, and there was a lot of talk about the best way to present long-range weather information. Right. And, without patting ourselves on the back too much, Mike and I are two of the most followed meteorologists in the country. Matter of fact, I don't know if there's anyone who has more followers than you and I. So, and the reason we talk about this, I think the reason this kind of plays out this way is because Mike messages his way, I message my way, and we're both, what I would say is very transparent with our lives and with what we do. And I think people, they see you and they know who you are on social is who you are in person. And I think that resonates.
Totally, yeah. I've put my whole life out there and never, it wasn't a reasoning behind it or nothing, just who I am. And, my weather page is my page. That's kind of like, I enjoy it. People say, don't read the comments, but that's what drives me. The interaction, it inspires me. It's my family. I really enjoy that part of it,
Well, and sometimes I tell you not to read the comments too, because we'll be having a discussion and somebody will be saying something nasty or something rude. And I'm like, dude, just don't read them. He's like, but I want to.
So the funniest thing for me is the ones that don't. I'm a little extreme. A lot of folks think I hype. Some people understand the reason in my post, but the 99% of the people that don't like me, they tell me only follow Dennis Phillips. Like, I only follow Dennis Phillips, and I'm like, I'm laughing inside because we almost post the same stuff, and it's like, how do they read me as this? But I don't know.
It's an interesting point. It really is. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And we've talked about this before. When it comes to weather people and sometimes news anchors, people have their own, and they're very, very protective and opinionated of them, their own. They're mine. That's mine, and mine's better than yours. Right. And you get that a lot. And I think maybe with weather even more. But what's fascinating for the folks I'd like to share, the way that you got here is just a crazy story to me. I used to follow your website, spaghettimodels.com, back when we did our web chat, our group chat back in 04, 05, because it was a great place to be able to click on NOAA stuff all in one place. And that's where you got a lot of your traction. But then it just turned into more. And tell a little bit about how you got to where you are, because to me, I think it's a really great story.
Yeah, the website started as a project for me. I went to USF and learning HTML, and it was more of a homework assignment. We had 2004 Charlie was coming, and there was really no good data online. And I remember running across spaghetti models from Southwest Florida Water Management, and I was like, these are so cool. But then I couldn't find them the next day. So I threw this all together, shared it with friends and family. Never dreamed it would, spread to more than just friends and family. And then when social media came around in 08, 09, grew into that. And then it really began for me with Matthew. When Matthew was almost hitting the East Coast, people were they drove to my website and specifically Facebook. And then Irma came the following year, and those were like huge plateaus, I guess, with followers. And it seems like every storm, it climbed. So that's kind of it. It's just a roller coaster ride, expanding past Florida into other states and then countries, and then of course YouTube and TikTok and X and Instagram. They all have their own little crowd now that cater to. And
your background, you're like a lot of people who love weather. Your background, you graduated marketing, I think, right?
Yeah, nothing weather. I hated science.
Yeah, but you had a passion for it. And I've told you this a million times, but I tell my kids, what a classic tale of success in America. Somebody who had a passion for something and just because they loved it so much, did all that they could and turned it into a career. So, I think it's a very interesting and unique way to get to where you've got. But now we're to the point where we can run into some issues. And again, we're going to talk more about that. We got to get our next break in. We'll be back with 90 Seconds with Mike Boylan and Dennis Phillips Live. Okay, so we still have another break after this, and I'm so heavy, it's absurd. But but we are still on streaming. So, but yeah, I
remember the early days. What was that platform called? It was called Livestream.
It was Procaster.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and
that had to be. Remember that one lady, Lisa? Did she ever?
Lisa Perry.
Yeah, I remember there was a Lisa. There was another guy with a J that always gave you hard. Jarvis or
well, Joel.
There was
but Joel is here, actually. He's back. He disappeared off the face of the earth for like a decade. And Joel, and he's a big sporty guy, likes the Bucks and whatnot. But
yeah, that was him.
We'll talk about this because you're right, and I didn't mention that. That's what this started as. This was just a bunch of people who liked weather, and this was before Facebook had restrictions where you could play music, and you could do things, and you wouldn't get shut down.
So that had to be like way before 16, because that was when they started streaming live. So like you said, or in the 2000s.
It was way before social media really took off.
Yeah.
And obviously before Facebook Live as well. We'll touch on that, and then gosh, it's already 50. Holy cow!
Do you want to go into the long range stuff, kind of like where we're at and the emotions of people and
let's go. And we're in 3, and I have another break. 2. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live. I am so heavy. I still have another commercial break to catch up. So we're just going to jump right into it. Mike and I were just talking. Mike Boylan from Mike's Weather Page. This was a group. Mike was part of our group. It was maybe 200-300 people, and we were just all weather geeks who loved talking weather and following it. And this was a nightly thing we did for 2-3 hours a night not on Facebook. It was called Procaster, and we just kind of hung together. And once Facebook Live turned into a thing, we found a bigger platform, and now we're on TV. But, Mike, we were just talking about this. What are your thoughts about the messaging? And I'm curious, people, please share this as well. And this is going to continue once we're off TV as well. But what are your thoughts on what went right and what went wrong with messaging with Gabrielle?
Yeah, so, I think last year was, terrible year. We had tons of storms, a lot of devastation from Texas to the Carolinas, Florida especially, and we coded this year, and there was a lot of forecasts for an above average season, and then we start getting storms like Aaron that people were spreading on the internet. We're heading to Florida, and there was a lot of that hype. And then we got Invest 91, and these were 2 storms that tracked for weeks and weeks and weeks. It seemed like and nothing happened with those 2, and I'm getting the feeling that it's exhausting, and people are just mad about me, talking about systems that aren't there yet. Where in the past, I don't think that was the case. There was a lot of, openness to the long range forecast, but with the modeling so bad now and things fizzling and people hyping the wrong stuff, I think we're in a different, point where, and I've talked to you about this, I'm calming down the messaging from when I used to, until there's something confident. Because I think people are just tired of chasing things that don't ever happen. And we're halfway and everybody thinks the season's over because they're exhausted and nothing's happened.
Yeah, and I agree completely. Occasionally you'll get people, you don't know what's going to happen in 10 days. We don't care, but, I don't want to hear it. But we have very different styles. Mike and I have talked about this a lot. Mike is a weather enthusiast who has access, as most of us do, by the way, to a lot of these models and likes to share them and tell people what his thoughts are as an enthusiast. But what's interesting, Mike, now is because your audience has grown, do you feel as though that your responsibility has changed because you have a bigger audience?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's where reading the comments come into play. I'm starting to feel the emotions a little bit more and slow down and, typing, put a lot of work into the words, because I know people read things differently now, and people that were affected with hurricanes, really are triggered easy now, and that's where you almost have to be confident on some of these posts because they read it as hype, and there's a lot more of that. And I think it's because there's so many people doing what we do, especially on TikTok and others, and there's that worst case scenario being shared by the ones looking for those likes. And I might have been that guy 10, 15 years ago. It was addicting, Man, I share the GFS. Look at this. This could happen. And it spreads, and you get all these likes and clicks, and that becomes the addiction rather than the messaging, And so then I found myself in a predicament this year. I wasn't sharing the GFS early in the season because I knew it wasn't probably real. People went elsewhere looking for that data because that's what drove them. Like, then they come to my page mad because I'm not talking about it. So I had to still talk about it, but in a different approach maybe than I used to, Does that make sense?
Well, I agree. I mean, I just think it's a philosophical difference. I think, I personally, my job is different than yours. My audience is similar, but, the broadcast side and the social media side are very different. And you know what? We got one more break, and then we'll come back with some more final thoughts. All right, on a break. So, and again, that's the thing. I think I've noticed this show has changed my television delivery as well, in a better way, I think, because I think we're just more conversational. And you have the ability, and we all know, anybody who follows your page, you're very conversational. It's all about the messaging. It's all about who can resonate to a viewer. Because as most people say, and you know this, the forecast doesn't change too much. All right? I mean, from person to person. Maybe a little bit, and maybe you'll get a situation like the Met in Orlando who
I was just thinking about
that line. I'm
innocently, you could post something like that without even I could have predicted the outcome of that, and I know you did because I text you. Remember?
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God, look at this, and the reactions were exactly. So I've learned what I post can create something.
It 100% can, and I'll mention that coming back out of the break in 20 seconds. But
another thing too, I know we got to go, but NWS doesn't want us or you to share the Euro and GFS, but the people want it, and that's where I know you're in a predicament. Like, people want that long range stuff, but
they do. I think it's just they don't want it more than 10 days. I think 3, 4, 5 days they're probably okay with. All right, we're back in 3, 2. All right, everybody, last 2 minutes of Dennis Phillips Live. It always flies. Mike Boylan here from Mike's Weather Page. One thing we were talking about briefly is, look, a lot of times it's all about messaging. And the reason we don't like to predict something so far down the road is because it's going to be wrong 98% of the time. So every now and again, when you see a long-range prediction like we did with Gabrielle, and there was a media person who posted a line going right into Florida, that's something that we try to avoid. And Mike, you hit the nail on the head a couple of minutes ago. I think Mike 6 or 7 years ago might have posted that.
Oh, yeah.
But you've learned that your audience maybe is looking for something a little different than maybe what we used to think. But you bring up the point, too, that there's others who still want it. So it's a tough one either way.
Hard place.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, with all these crazy forecasts out there, we've talked about this. Hopefully folks go to who they trust. When I say when you know what hits the fan, where are you going to turn? And that hopefully goes back to your 1.5 million followers, right? And whatever I got. So that's the bottom line.
The people, I think they're drawn towards someone that resonates with them, and that there is a relationship. And I agree with you 100%. And we got to go in a few seconds, at least for TV. But in my opinion, the fact that you're yourself, you share your family, you share your dogs, I do the same thing. That makes you feel like you're part of a family, and people are more likely to trust you when they feel like you're part of the family and that you care about them. I truly believe that.
People are smart.
We got to run on TV, but we're going to continue this conversation on broadcast and talk more about the long-range forecast. Folks, thanks for stopping by in DPL. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Phew, that was quick. Okay, now we're still on. Okay, so what were you saying?
I don't even remember. The last line. Now we can just be loose. You probably missed that.
It is a very different these 30 minutes are very different because you're right. Normally we can just talk and do whatever, but when there's certain segments and breaks, and I'm not complaining because, they help to pay the bills, but it's a different experience. It definitely is.
Well, I've, you've talked a lot about me, but I've always been so appreciative, Dennis. You know that. I've said it a bunch, but anybody knew, he recognized my page like 2007 or 8 or 9, I don't remember, and it was the most coolest thing. I remember making a video about it. I'm like, this guy is talking about it, and
remember we wanted to name it Pasta Plots?
Oh, I made it. Remember one time during your show, I made a fake.
So there's a story there. I got to share this. So
I bought the domain and everything.
There was a guy, I got an email from a guy, an Italian American in Clearwater, and he was so angry that these are called spaghetti models. So angry. And I'm like, dude, what do you want me to call them? Pasta Plots? And
we did.
And I thought, dang, that's a really neat name. So actually, didn't you grab the
I did.
the domain?
I remember I was so excited to share it with you. I know because yeah, that was a good time.
That was funny.
You used to do your movies at night. Remember, you can't do that now. Like you can't copyright, right?
Yep.
I mean,
yeah, we used to do movie quote trivia, and we would play 70s music songs and whatnot. And remember, we used to have the fireside chats where we would have one box, this double box. One would be a fire that was on YouTube, and the other one was me.
And
one day, I went from like 2,000 people following to one that instantly, and that one was me because Facebook cut me off because I wasn't allowed to use YouTube, and now we get these. It's a different time, and you are real active in TikTok, which I have not really embraced as much yet, and you seem to think that TikTok could very well be the future, a lot of this stuff.
I tell you, I've mentioned this to you a bunch of the younger generation. We were at Chili's the other night, and a mom and dad came in. They were a hockey team, and their 2 little boys freaked out. They saw me. They watched me on TikTok. They had to be 10 years old. And I'm like, are you kidding me? They're like, no, we watch you on TikTok. So I had a little girl in our neighborhood one time when we went to Gatlinburg to chase snow. She rode by, stopped her bike, and said, we're going to Gatlinburg next week. And I'm like, how does she know that? And then I'm like, because she must have watched the weather, So, yeah, it's different. But it's also very volatile. There's a lot of... I've had my first hint of hater just over there. You saw it. I texted you during Daytona, and it was pretty bad. But I invited him today. I posted on TikTok. I said, even the haters can come watch us. So,
well, what I do, and we've talked about this. Mike has been trying to broaden my horizons, expanding into TikTok. It's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. When I've done it, I just turn off comments because I'll get myself in trouble. My family is convinced, they're shocked that I haven't been already canceled because I wear my heart on my sleeve. And see, you and I are a little bit different in this way. If you get a nasty comment, you might just be bummed about it or whatever, but you in the past did not engage. Oh, I engage. And I engage with guns a-blazing. I mean, I'm just like, I'm really out there, right? And because I'm passionate about these things. Now, but we had a discussion as well. This is not about disagreeing with somebody, right? I think you're the same way. You don't discourage conversation, but just don't be a jerk when you're responding.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But then I got to remind myself, we're all different. They think one way, we think another, and I mean, it's like I know, but
I don't know. Would someone go into your house? And this is the whole keyboard warrior thing.
Yeah.
Would somebody come into your house and say the things the way that they say to you is rude and it's disrespectful? And they never would. No. So this is my house, and this is your house, and I truly believe that. Look, Greg is like saying, Greg D, I'm not going to use the ban button. Well, I am if someone is rude or disrespectful because I won't tolerate it. And I think you're right. I mean, the people who write that stuff, they just, that's just because there's no repercussions, right?
Yeah, and I was a kid. I mean, we had a little forum when I was a kid racing radio control cars, and I loved controversy, and we had fake names, and I like to stir the pot because you know what? You don't realize the emotions and stuff. So I I've been there. You know, I was the guy sharing the GFS, so I try to just take a deep breath and just. But sometimes you just don't goes with through their heads to say this and how they could think that. You know, that's the thing. But hey, we're doing all right. We're growing, and it's fun. I don't know if you want to read comments or not, but this season's different. So I mean, what do you think of? I mean, it's crazy to think how dead it is, right? I mean, people think the season's over, and
I would be flabbergasted if we don't see a couple of big hurricanes in the Western Caribbean or the Gulf before the end of October. I just think it's shaping up that way, and I hope I'm wrong. Hope I'm wrong. But.
Well, I am too, but that ocean heat content just surpassed 2024. I'm like, oh my God, that's fuel, and we're going to be in a La Nina. They just had a new outlook today, right?
Yeah, heading toward December.
Yeah. So man, I mean, I just think, but the feeling I'm getting is that 90% of my comments are, "It's season's over, we're done," and it happens every year. And I say, fall in football. It's like once fall in football come, people are done. They don't want to talk about the hurricanes anymore.
Yeah, well, and when did Milton and Helene come? I mean, later in September and October.
Remember Michael? That was October.
Yeah.
I mean,
so and the GFS, and the one thing, one of the things I've noticed over the years is, while I'll ridicule the GFS 10 to 14 days out because for a day and day and day and day, it'll continue to spin up a hurricane, a big one down the road. What it does do well, when it shows an area that develops and it keeps pushing it back a day at a time, but it continues to show it, eventually it's going to get it right.
I agree. I think I mentioned that today because, so the idea is there, this Central American gyre or whatever, and I noticed the Canadians catching up a little bit. There's a few more ensembles, not a lot, but there's a few. So the idea is starting to take place, and but like we were talking about with this, what's happened this season, I don't even want to post that because I think people are sick of being told something's going to happen and it doesn't happen. And there were so many people that thought Aaron wasn't going to turn because there was a lot of TikTok videos.
Oh, yeah.
And all these 5-day plots were pointing right to the state. They didn't show the rest of the story, like Paul Harvey said. And then 91 got more hype than ever, and it fizzled. So people have lost trust, even in us, I'll admit it because I'm showing this and 90%. Nobody's ever seen go 90% to the Zippo in one day. I mean,
it
saw the
doesn't
dry
happen
air.
Often.
I mean, there was dry air all over the place, right? The Euro was fizzling it. The Euro AI didn't even show it. And I'm like,
Euro's been good this year.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
the AI is decent, and the Google AI. So anyway, so my new thing the rest of the season is just really wait until there's confidence to raise it up a notch.
Yeah, I mean, you clearly, what you're doing works. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you've got a huge audience, and what you do resonates with them on so many levels, and so I think you're doing it right. I mean, I do.
Here's how words matter. This one caught me off guard. So yesterday, posted the new yellow circle, and I said, here we go again. Another long track system. We're going to be watching for weeks. Just grab your popcorn, whatever. We've been there, done that. We know what to expect. Meaning, we just went to this. Some guys like, what do you mean? Here we go again. Are you insinuating it's going to be Irma? I'm like, no. I was saying we just done. But there again, he read it as hype, and I'm like, man, I could see his point, but man, I didn't. He ripped me a new one. And I'm like,
yeah, and it's a great point. I mean. Words matter, and how people are going to interpret them differently, just based on them. The way that they read it. And I don't know about you, but when I post something, I'll read it. I'll read it again, and if there's a little voice that says, I usually back off and delete that part because now I never used to listen to that little voice when I was younger. But now I kind of do, and it's usually right. And I think that little voice is probably experienced just kind of somewhere in the back of your mind saying, maybe you got to be careful. When you look at a forecast, the forecasts are usually pretty solid. But this year, they haven't really been that much different. It's just the perception is different because you have some places blowing these things out of proportion. I mean, look, you talk about Aaron. I said, and I don't remember if you did or not, but I remember saying when that was just off of Africa, this thing's probably going to curve.
Right.
And
I did too, because of the cold fronts.
Right. We have all these fronts, and you get a few. You get a few people saying, you don't know that. I'm like, you're right. I don't know that, but that's what I'm forecasting. And same with this yellow blob out there.
Yeah.
I would be stunned if it doesn't curve. I guess it's possible, but come on.
Come on, right. And my dad mentioned something about you years ago. He always liked you because you would lay it out there and give an opinion, Yeah. And I think too, I'm not saying our market, but everybody's robots. Like nobody wants to go out on a limb and give them their opinion, because if you're wrong, it sucks. So, but then you get called out because people, where's the old Mike that used to tell us? I'm like, well, there you go, so, but when is the last time you've seen a lingering front, like in all of August, all of September? I mean, there's no Bermuda High right now. You can tell by all the tracks. I mean, I remember 23, we had 22 storms, and only Idalia was the only one to hit the U.S. So we don't have a high pressure, and this front's making it all the way down to the Keys. I don't see any way that high is going to build up now, right?
No, it's curving. But, you got to toe the company line, I guess. That's another interesting point. The NHC, the NHC, they are the experts. They are the best forecasters for tropical meteorology in the world. I say it over and over again. But they're different in what they are willing to put out there, all right? And if you ask any of the individual meteorologists who work at the NHC if something's going to happen, they'll be more than happy to say they think something's going to curve, but they'll never release that in that way, shape, or form, because they can't. Because they are, it's the same reason why they don't have very big changes on their track when the models change, because they realize the whole world's looking at them and they have to be more cautious in their approach. Whereas some people don't have to be quite as cautious. And I'm kind of in between, I think. I think you used to be on the other side, throw caution on the wind.
If I believe in something, I'm going to go all in,
Yeah, I get it. And people obviously like that for obvious reasons.
But like you say, everybody sees what they want, and that's cool. I mean, just got to accept that you can't make everybody happy, that's just life. And, if anybody's watching, I've hit the nail on the head, I think, why I have a lot of haters. I talk about more than just Tampa. And I think my hype level doesn't go down when a storm's not coming to Tampa. So people in Tampa, I really think, well, Dennis isn't talking about it anymore, but look at Mike over there, 24/7, post after post after post. Because I got maybe people in Carolinas, or I got people in Louisiana, or I got Texas, So I think sometimes a lot of folks don't realize I'm covering all the tropics and not just Tampa,
That's a good point. And it's great that you had a chance to come out and talk a little bit. I mean, I think we've Mike and I have been buddies for a long time, but after Gabrielle, or what never became Gabrielle, but was supposed to. There was a lot of talk, and it started with that line that was drawn into Florida, and no one disputes that line was there. The question is it responsible to show it?
Nope, because you saw it was GFS, it was the Euro, it was all four models, right? But they were all remnant lows, a couple of them. It was the low pressure line, but it wasn't a hurricane. So the line's scary. Spaghetti models are scary, and one thing I'm trying to let people know more, the line is a low pressure area. It's not a hurricane, and that's, I think the general public sees that line and they assume Caribbean hurricane. So that's, But that's where the messaging has to be clear. And maybe not even show it because it changes every 6 hours, right? I've said it a million times. I don't show it because I hate to be wrong. Hate to be wrong. Yeah. I mean, this. I'm still mad at myself over missing Halloween 31 years ago. True story. And I guaranteed it wouldn't rain, and it did. But 31 years ago, I still am haunted by that. But the thing is, when we know that the GFS is going to be wrong, literally 98% of the time after day 10, why post it if you know it's going to be wrong? I think that's the ultimate question, and it's a legitimate question. If you're trying to inform the public, if the goal is trying to help the public, how are you helping the public
showing something past 10 days out that you know is going to be wrong 98% of the time? Are you helping them to prepare? There are going to be some people who say, hey, I want to know as far out as I can on the possibility. But are you going to want to know that 98% of the time it's wrong? Because then all of a sudden it's a Chicken Little syndrome. I believe that.
True. And, I think another thing that I've had success with lately, too, is showing the hey, this wave coming off Africa tomorrow isn't going to be to the middle Atlantic until next week, So I think that's another thing. It helps people realize, well, why are we going to worry about something that's going to still be in the middle Atlantic 7 days from now? So I think, putting more things like that. And I've always thought that my crowd is learning with me. Like when I ramble on, I think we're all kind of learning things together. But I've unfortunately grown to the point where those people are intently in tune, like the diehards, and they just see a random post from me and they're like, whoa, wait a minute, and that's
Let me tell you, man, I mean, this is, and this is a good point you're making here. Whether you like it or not, all right, and I'm talking to you specifically about this, whether you like it or not, there will be people who are going to be looking at your forecast and they are going to use you as a decision on whether to evacuate or not. And that is a fact. I mean, that is where you are now, and it's certainly where I've been for quite a while. And let me tell you why that's significant. I have never gone on TV and told people, or on social, and told people that an area needs to evacuate. And here's why. I will say emergency operations is saying you have to evacuate. I will give a forecast for what that specific area is going to be. But my worst nightmare is I tell somebody that they need to evacuate, they evacuate and get in a car crash and die in that evacuation, and they didn't need to evacuate because the storm went elsewhere. That scenario haunts me. It really does. And it's never happened, but that is why. Go ahead.
Vice versa. No, vice versa. If you don't tell somebody to, or, if you say, nah, you'll be all right. Same thing.
But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you'll be all right, but I'm saying the verbiage is not going to come from me. Right. You in Palm Harbor, you in Crystal Beach, you in Indian Rocks, you have to get out now. Now, I take that back. I guess if we have a Cat 4 and it's on the doorstep, maybe there will be a time. Okay, I take that back. This is a good conversation. Yeah. I've not had that happen yet. I've yet to have a situation where I told people, you better get out now. But I'll go out there and say, look, you're going to get a 7-foot surge. Do you want to stay where you are with a 7-foot surge? Are you safe where you are with a 7-foot surge? Those are different words. It's a different message, but it still gets the point across without saying you have to get out. And I'm telling you, man, there are people out there who are going to look at you and they're going to say that. They're going to hear what you say, and they're going to, I mean, do you get it? I get it all the time.
I get a million. Yeah, we just tell everybody no. And one thing that I've changed too, I always say I'm the Debbie Downer when it comes to evacuating now, because I was the one that was like, we'll evacuate, until I've seen surge and people getting stuck on roadways and not being able to evacuate properly, or seeing people in Ian that were stuck in attics, that have lost loved ones. I mean, that I've become 180 opposite, I think, of what I used to be. And I'm the guy out there with the bullhorn. If you're in an A-B zone and they're telling you to evacuate, I'm like, get the heck out.
But they're telling you to evacuate.
Oh, yeah, I follow EOC, totally.
Yeah, EOC, and that's my point.
Yeah, and Pam, everybody, Pinellas, and I understand what they go through now with road closures and FHP, and it's a very serious decision when they make these decisions. And
yeah, but you get messages. Hey, Mike, my family and I live here. Should we evacuate?
I hate that because I
won't answer that.
No, I don't.
I'll answer it, but I'll say you got to do what the EOC is saying.
100%. And my dad, yeah, totally. I'm 100% with you on that one. Even my dad's like, well, you don't ever tell them, right? And I'm like, no, I'm
Yeah, we can't. That's one. It's not our job. Our job is to tell them what to expect. Now, we differ. Well, I differ from what I used to be. My job has changed. We've talked about this as well. 15 years ago, even 04, when Charlie was coming and we made that turn, we made that call on the turn before anybody else.
I remember watching you.
that was a big moment for my career, and for that matter, for the Bay Area, because everybody who evacuated Pinellas to Orlando ended up getting it right in the middle of it because it went to Orlando.
I tell people that now too. I'm like, what? So not to interrupt, but I don't want to lose this point. But people ask me about evacuating. I always say, what is your reasoning for evacuating? What do you want to get away from? If it's the wind, you better go freaking Interstate 10 to Panama, because the storm's probably going to follow you. Like you just mentioned, everybody goes to their side of the state, and they have bigger problems sometimes there. So I try to at least, the water is everything. But like you said, nobody in Florida can escape. These storms go across, right? And it's like,
Yep.
I had worse conditions in Orlando than I did at the house.
And it's, it's hide from the wind, run from the water. But again, what we're saying is at the end of the day, when my message has changed, because back in 2004, I thought my job was just getting the weather right. That was it. If I got the forecast right, I was doing my job, and it wasn't my responsibility to how it impacted people. I'm a weatherman. I'm a meteorologist. I'm like, okay, I got to do the weather. That was 20 years ago. And as I've gotten older, and as I've seen how storms impacted people directly, I changed. And I think you're probably feeling the same thing.
Totally.
My job now is to get people through a storm, hold them by the hand, reassure them when I can, not just to say everything's going to be okay if it's going to be a bad storm, but to be there as a show of support and a rock to try to get them through. That is what my job is, and that has totally changed over the years. And I think, you also, that's another reason there's a draw, because people see you going through it as well as they are in this area.
Yeah, I've had that comment a million times, like, oh, you had your family evacuate. That's when I know it's time to go, So, yeah, and two, for me, storm chasing, sitting here on my desk and, my little table, telling people about storm surge and wind and what they might experience, until you see it, at least for me, it changed, because now I can share these, images and videos that I've seen firsthand and say, listen, and I think Helene, unfortunately, was a serious wake-up call for us.
Yeah.
Luckily, we didn't get a hard wind impact with Helene that like Fort Myers and Sanibel did, but it was a wake-up that if we ever get told again, I think people will take it serious.
The crazy thing about Helene, that storm was over 100 miles offshore, and we still
God.
got a 7-foot surge. And I tell people, you can't say we were lucky, we got lucked out. No, we can't say that, but we can say it could have been a lot worse.
Oh my God! Yeah,
100 miles offshore, and we got a 7-foot surge.
So, well, and it was a slow rise of water and fall. It was no waves, very little wind. It was just a freaky little man.
Models did a great job on it too, by the way, because the slosh models 4 or 5 days out. I don't know about you, but I saw the initial predictions of a 7-foot surge, and I thought, no way. This thing's going to be 100 miles offshore. We're not going to get hurricane force winds. How are we going to get a 7-foot surge? And it never backed off. And by 3 days out, I'm like, dang, you know what? Maybe this is exactly what's going to happen. The forecast was nearly perfect with Helene. Milton was a little trickier. But if you remember that forecast with Helene, its landfall was 12 miles away from original hurricane predictions from the NHC. 12 miles. It's crazy.
Well, and the craziest story I've had the other day was at Chili's. A lady did not evacuate for Helene, and they got flooded 5 foot of surge. And I asked her, she said, well, Ian, we were forecast to get 7 to 8. Irma, we were forecast to get 6 to 8. We didn't get anything for those storms. So they are like, well, we're supposed to only get, this is, 6, 7 for Helene, and we'll be okay. Well, that turn, I don't think a lot of folks are, really in tune with how that turn, like with Milton, we got nothing, 20 miles to our north, it would have been just as bad. So there's still a lot to go with the messaging, because she still didn't understand it that night at Chili's, really how that storm had flooding and the other two didn't.
The difference is those predictions of a 7-foot surge with Irma and whatnot, those were several days before landfall. That changed. By the time you had 24 to 36, those predictions were a lot lower. But that was
in her mind, in that mind. That's what.
Yes.
That's what I mean with Milton, like you said. Just that little turn changed everything again, and that's hard to predict, as you know.
You can't. You can't predict wobbles. Can't do it. Jason Adams and I, meteorologist Jason Adams, as opposed to engineer Jason Adams, I was sitting over at this monitor right over there, and we were looking at that radar, and that storm, it was coming up on western Manatee and was headed right toward northern Pinellas, which would have brought all the water in on the south side. And we literally looked at each other and said, we're done. The only way that this doesn't impact us is if it makes a right turn right now, a 90-degree turn. And it made a 90-degree turn.
I remember, I think you even texted me. I think we were texting each other. I think you texted me and said, or I texted you, I said, did you see that? And I think you said, yeah, because it did. It wobbled, changed everything.
Well, dude, I really appreciate you coming in. I'm going to go watch football. And
I feel
folks,
bad about comments. Do you have anybody, you want to look at them real quick? Or?
I've been looking at them. It's, everybody's like, hey, loves the fact that you and I are sitting here talking and just going over stuff. And, there have been some talk, most of the questions I think we already covered. But no, I think, honestly, I just think
good, man.
A lot of folks here right now just enjoy hearing the story about how we kind of got where we are. And, I think at the end of the day, we both know, as you said, you're not going to make everybody happy.
No.
We do our best, both of us, and we do it in different ways. We have different styles.
Oh, yeah.
But
you
I
still
think
text
at the
me
end
out
of
the blue. Dennis will text me. No, he'll text me, and he'll say, "What the hell did you just post that for?" or what are you thinking? What?
So
I usually agree with you, but I don't agree this time.
That just happened a couple weeks ago because I don't know what led to the post, but there was the models that were hinting at the Western Caribbean going into the Gulf. And I'll remember your words because it was a post at like 1 a.m. And you said something like, I'm going to get raw here. It's going to be a raw post.
Oh, it was the raw statement. Yeah. I was talking about the Irma comparison that you guys
that too.
About.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
You're right. The raw thing was, I just thought it was, probably was a little bit of alcohol talking. he always texts me, don't, maybe take your phone away.
Yeah, well, you even said Julie. You need to give your phone away after like 10 at night or something. But yeah, I mean, but again, these are conversations that I think are valuable because when let me tell you, we'll go full circle. I get texts from Paul over at 13. In fact, he just talked yesterday. He texted me about the forecast, and so we do have these conversations, and I think that's awesome because I truly believe you and Paul, and I know I appreciate the feedback because when you do it, in your mind, you're doing the best you can. Yeah. But it's nice to hear if that resonates. And if it isn't, what do we need to do to make it better? Because ultimately, that's what we're all trying to do. We're trying to be better at what we do.
And to end it with this, I tell people, if we didn't care, we wouldn't be reading messages and reacting. And that's the difference, I think. I mean, if we didn't have our heart on our sleeves because we want to be better. So that's the difference, I think, is, because I know you do too. I mean, something will stick with you, and and that's what makes us better. If we didn't care, we wouldn't care. That's a weird statement, but if we didn't care, we wouldn't care, if it makes sense. That's the way I look at it.
It does, and we've both been so active on social. Our families are very patient because, we're posting all the time, and my family's finally accepted it. It used to be a source of contention. I mean, it was because I was always on my phone updating. But I realized, and you certainly have, and you've expanded my horizons on this, that the future of what we do, you could argue, is very much streaming and social and whatnot. I mean, and look at what's out there now. James Spann is starting his own weather network in Alabama, and apparently there's another one opening in the Panhandle, like this month. Yeah. So I think there are going to be, you can maybe argue that these weather entities are things that people are going to be depending on in the future. So,
and I think AI, believe it or not, I think there's going to be a longing for what we do because I think people are going to get tired of the robotic forecast and maybe robotic Mets and this personal stuff. They're not going to get from AI,
I hope you're right.
It's kind of like shopping on Amazon. There's still people that want to go touch and feel the products, So Publix, my wife works there. Shopping is a pleasure. And I think what we do, people are going to get drawn to, and it's that it's that personal preference, obviously. If I fit in line with somebody's lifestyle, that's where we click. I mean, And you're not going to be able to find that in the future, I don't think. And that's what's going to make what we do different.
And Michael is mentioning, he says, increasingly localized, and 100%. You know, I think, I've said this to my bosses and for forever. In my opinion, the way that local news stays relevant is by staying local. Look, there was a period of time where a lot of local news, you would see nothing but world news and world politics and everything else. And to me, you know, they can get that elsewhere. But I still believe that people are always going to want to know what's happening in their local schools. They're always going to want to know what's happening in their community. There always will be a thirst for that. And weather is at the top of that list because it impacts people on a daily basis. So yes, Michael, I agree with you. I think the more localized you can do with the weather, the more relevant it is to people's lives.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Well, that'll be where things maybe go back to, you know. I get tired of national news. It's not news. You know, I want to know what's going on, and, you know, I want to know what's going on.
By the way, Mike, I got to tell you something. William just said, you look like father and son.
Oh, my God. I need to dye my hair.
So really? So I don't even know what that means, nor do I want to. So
That's
anyway.
a compliment. That's all
All
right.
right, man. Well, thanks
Dennis,
again.
You were 11 when you had me.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So thanks again for everything, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks
and
for having me
folks,
on.
you guys have a great night. I'm going to go watch some football. And thanks for watching tonight's Dennis Phillips Live. We will see you tomorrow night on TV as well as social. You guys have a good
Rule
night.
7, look, see, 7? Rule 7.
See you, man.